Welcome to RetroPay Calculator, the professional tool for calculating retroactive pay raises, shift differentials, and premium adjustments. Whether you're nurse tracking night shift premiums, a union worker calculating contract adjustments, or any employee verifying retro pay, this app gives you accurate results in seconds. Let's walk through the features. Here we have our main page for retroactive calculations. As you can see, it is split into two tabs, hourly and salary. This is for whether you are calculating your retro based on an hourly wage or a salary wage. For now, let's begin calculating the retro for an hourly wage. Let's start with a simple example. Say your rate increased from $35 per hour to $40 per hour, and you worked 160 hours during the retroactive period. First, in our currently hourly rate section, we're going to enter 35. Then, we're going to tap to add a second rate, and we're going to enter 40 in the new hourly rate. Finally, in the base hours worked section, we're going to put 160 and then press Calculate Gross Retro Pay. Now we can see our results. Given that we worked 160 hours and our pay was raised from $35 to $40 an hour, we can see that we are owed $800 in retroactive pay. Additionally, there is a Calculate Retro Net Pay option, in case you wanted to add taxes or anything else alike to the retroactive gross amount that you are owed. In this case, I'm just going to click on taxes and put 10%, and I'm going to add this deduction so that it is applied to our gross amount. With our 10% tax deduction now applied, we can see that our estimated net pay is $720. To save this calculation, all we have to do is press the Save Calculation to History button at the bottom of the screen. Here, I'm going to give it the name Basic Hourly, and I'm going to ignore the other optional fields for now and just save this calculation. After saving our calculation to history, all we have to do is press on the History tab at the bottom of the screen. On the History page, we can see all of our saved calculations, including the one we just saved for Basic Hourly. By clicking on the Basic Hourly entry on the History page, we're able to see a breakdown of the calculation we just did. This breakdown includes everything we saw on the main calculation page, as well as the optional fields for name, notes, or date. Going back to the main Calculate page, let's begin something a little bit more complicated. We're going to stick with the hourly rates, but this time we're going to include some premiums, such as a night shift differential. To get started, I'm going to put the base rate of $35 an hour. Then, I'm going to press on the Add Premium/Expenses button. Here, I'm going to type the name Night Shift, as for my night shift differential. For the amount, I'm going to do a fixed dollar amount per hour of $5 an hour. This means to say that I am receiving $5 for every hour that I work during a night shift. Lastly, in the hours, I'm going to specify 12 hours. This means to say from the retro I'm owed based off the hours I've worked, only 12 of those hours include the night shift differential. Next, let's add a second premium. This premium I'm going to call Hazard. For the Hazard premium, it is a percentage-based premium, meaning it gives us a percentage of our wage back per hour as its premium. For this number, I'm going to put 2. So Hazard pays us 2% of our hourly wage every hour as a premium. I'm going to leave the specific hours blank, meaning that this premium will apply to all the hours supplied for the base hours worked. In this case, we're going to say the base hours worked were 160 for this retroactive pay period. Additionally, we are not going to press the Add Second Base Rate button, as in this case, all I want to do is have my premiums calculated for the rate I've worked to see the retro I've owed for my specific shifts. In other words, I'm not looking at a contract comparison, but rather a shift differential. So by pressing on Calculate Gross Retro Pay, I can see how much these differentials have earned me. For my night shift of 12 hours, I can see I am owed $60, and for my Hazard premium of the entire 160 hours, I can see I am owed $112, giving me a final gross total of $172 I am owed. Next, I'm going to press on the Save Calculation to History button, and I'm going to give it the custom name Basic Premium. Afterwards, I'm going to press on the Save Calculation button, and now with this calculation saved to my history, if I go to the History page by clicking on the History tab, we can see Basic Premium has been saved as an entry. Clicking on this entry, we can see the breakdown of the calculation, showing the premiums for the night shift and the hazard, as well as the total gross retro pay we are owed. With a basic wage calculation and a basic shift differential calculation shown, let's move on to the Profiles tab. In the way that we just did the basic premium calculation by adding the shift differentials for hazard and night shift, the Profiles tab is where we can pre-configure profiles to include all of these adjustments, including specified hours if necessary. Clicking on the Profiles tab, we can see the Pay Profiles main page. In this page, we can see that there's an hourly, a salary, and a net tab, in case we wanted to make a pay profile for withholdings. Here, however, we're going to continue with the hourly mode, and we are just going to click on Create New Hourly Profile. In the Create Hourly Profile, at the top, we can see it says Profile Name. Here, I am going to name it RN Night Shift, and for the base hourly rate, I am going to put $41.33. So let's say this is an RN who receives $41.33 an hour, and they're making a profile for their night shift premiums. So I'm going to add the premium night shift, and I'm going to add the increase of $5 an hour fixed per hour, and I'm going to specify it as 12 hours, as per our last example. Next, I'm going to add the hazard premium, and for this one I'm going to name it hazard, and I'm going to enter the amount as 2, and I'm going to switch it to a percentage, as also per our last example. Additionally, I'm going to add a parking expense this time, because I feel like a lot of nurses have to pay for parking, and if they want that factored into their hourly wage, here's how you can do it easily. So I'm going to name it parking, and I'm going to give it a fixed hourly deduction of $1 per hour, and I'm going to say that this applies for 12.5 hours. So let's say it applied to our night shift, we had to pay extra parking. Now I'm going to press Save Profile, and we can see Profile created successfully. Now with the profile creation example out of the way, let's show how to make the most of these created profiles by comparing two profiles and analyzing the retro we are owed. This is specifically useful for comparing contract updates and their associated premiums/adjustments so that you can verify for yourself if your contract update is really earning you more, as well as how much retroactive pay you are owed given the hours you've worked since the contract update has taken effect. For this example, I am going to use the profile I just made called RN Night Shift in the previous example, as well as an additional profile I made off camera to compare these two profiles. Specifically, I made a profile called Old RN Contract that has slightly lower wage but also slightly better premiums. To compare these two profiles/contracts for our RN, I am going to press on the blue text that says Use Hourly Profile in the Current Base Rate section on the main Retro Pay Calculator page of the Calculate tab and upload my old RN contract profile. Next, I'm going to press the green button to add a second base rate, and in that new base rate section, I'm going to press on the Use Hourly Profile blue text, and I'm going to upload the profile RN Night Shift. Next, I'm going to input the base hours worked as 80, and then, lastly, I'm going to press on the Calculate Gross Retro Pay button at the bottom in order to see the results and breakdown of comparing these two profiles/contracts. Looking at the calculation breakdown for these two profiles, we can see the differences in base rates calculated over 80 hours, plus differences between the two profiles' premiums and expenses. All these components together result in $148.83 in retroactive pay we are owed. Specifically, we can see that comparing the base rate of our old profile's wage of $39.99 an hour with our new profile's wage of $41.33 an hour over 80 hours results in us being retroactively owed $107.20. Additionally, we can see in the calculation breakdown the comparison for our night shift premium across both profiles, which shows that our old contract's premium would earn us $72, while our new contract's night shift premium earns us only $60, meaning our night shift premium decreased, and in this case with the specified hours and rates given, we can see this premium decreased by $12. Finally, as our old contract profile didn't include the premium for hazard or the expense for parking, but our new contract profile did, we can see hazard is a new premium earning us $66.13 in retro, as well as a new expense for parking that reduces our retro we are owed by $12.50. In total, this gives us the final total of $148.83 in retro that we are owed. Lastly, I'm going to press on the Save Calculation to History button, and I'm going to fill in all the optional fields, adding the name New Rate RN and giving it the date range of 02/03/2025 to 03/02/2025, as well as adding the notes Comparison of Old Contract with New One, before saving this calculation. Now, in the History tab, we can see our calculation was saved to the History page. And if we click on our entry for the retro calculation of New Rate RN, we can review the calculation's breakdown in its entirety. Additionally, if I hold down on the entry from the History tab's main page, I can then compare the saved calculation to another by holding down on a second entry. This option was included in case anyone wanted to compare calculations to another, displaying the total breakdown and differences of both, as well as an option to export or email this comparison at the top right of this comparison page. As a note, everything we have done using hourly-based retro calculations or hourly pay profiles can also be done using salary-based calculations with a salary-based profile. Next, I will give a calculation demo for calculating the retro from a contract update for a salary-based user, as well as show how to save a profile from the main Calculate page. For example, let's say you're a police officer who earns $70,000 a year annually. With premiums, you have a contract change that should increase your wage to $100,000, although with no premiums, as of 4 months ago. To find out the exact amount that you are owed in this salary-based case, first we click on the Salary tab on the main Calculate page, and then we will enter $70,000 in the current annual salary section. Next, we are going to add the associated premiums with this old contract, adding a hazard premium that pays an additional 5% of their monthly wage each month to their pay, as well as a one-time bonus premium representing an annual bonus received of $5,000 per year. You can see I accidentally selected this as $5,000 bonus per month, which is incorrect, but was able to easily edit the specific premium by pressing on the Edit blue text for the premium and changing the premium's frequency from monthly to one time. After entering this initial base rate and the two premiums, I wanted to save this information as a pay profile for later reuse. To easily do this, I just pressed on the Save as Pay Profile button at the bottom of the Applied Premiums/Expenses section and named it Salary Profile, just as an example of how to easily save a pay profile from the main Calculate page in case you ever wanted to reuse a specific configuration for calculating your retro that you didn't make a profile for. Going to the Profiles tab and going into the Salary tab of the main Pay Profiles page, we can see that the salary profile example was saved correctly. Now, going back to our salary-based calculation, I can quickly just load in the pay profile we created, which has the base annual salary rate and the premiums we specified exactly, before pressing on the Add Second Base Rate green button. After clicking the Add Second Base Rate button, we can then enter our new annual salary rate of $100,000, with no premiums or bonuses or expenses added. Finally, let's say this contract update happened 4 months ago. Therefore, the months in our retro period is 4. Additionally, if you didn't know the exact date range but knew when the contract became applicable, you can press on the Choose by Date Range blue text in order to give a start date and end date that will calculate your months in retro period for you. Lastly, with the old contract information entered, as well as the new contract and the months in retro supplied, we can click on the Calculate Gross Retro Pay button to see the exact retroactive pay we are owed in gross. After saving this calculation to history, we can now see our salary retro calculation entry in the History tab. Additionally, if we thought this calculation we saved to history was of particular importance, we can swipe right on the salary retro entry and favorite it, putting that entry to the top of our history page in our favorites section. Further, If we wanted to unfavorite it, we could either swipe right on the entry again, or we could click on the entry and press on the Unfavorite button in the entry's details. As a note, this button can also be used to favorite an entry, and will be called Favorite in the case that this entry is not currently favorited. Also from the entry details, we can see an Edit button that allows us to edit the entry's name, date range, or notes section. Lastly, from the entry's details on the history page, we can see in the top right an Export/Email button. This button can be used to either save a calculation to your device or send a calculation breakdown through email. If this button is selected, you will then be prompted for which format you would like to send the calculation breakdown as, given the options of PDF, CSV, or a simple text file. After choosing which format you would like to send your RetroPay calculation as, you are then prompted to share it via email or save it to your device. Going back to the Profiles main page using the Profiles tab, notice how there are 3 dots in the top right corner of the screen. If we press on these 3 dots, we are prompted with the option to import or export our profiles. If we select the option to export a profile, we are then prompted to choose which profile we wish to export. Exporting a profile allows a user to either share a profile they made with another person through email, or save it to their device if they choose to do so. As a note, any kind of profile can be exported, whether they are hourly based or salary based, or even if they're a profile for the optional net pay section. But if we select the option to import a profile, we are then directed to our device's folders, where we can select a profile we have been sent by a colleague to upload into our pay profiles. Here, I'm selecting an hourly based profile called RN Shift that I downloaded to my device from an email a coworker sent me of the pay profile they use. After verifying that the profile was imported successfully via the success feedback message, we can see the pay profile RN Shift in our hourly tab. If we select this imported profile by pressing on it, we can see in detail the pay profile's information including its name, base rate, and its premiums/expenses. Further, from this detailed view of the profile entry, we can see options to edit the profile, duplicate the profile, delete the profile, or favorite the profile. Editing the profile allows a user to modify a profile's name, base rate, or any of its premiums and/or expenses as they see fit. Whereas duplicate makes an exact copy of the profile but as another copy in case they wanted to edit a profile but also preserve its original state. Lastly, the delete button deletes the profile, and the favorite button functions much like the history tab's favorite button, where the profiles that are favorited move to the top of the list and can be unfavorited by swiping right on the entry or by pressing on the unfavorite button from the profile's details. The final section of this app showcases its settings page. The settings page can be accessed from any tab in the app by pressing on the gear icon in the top left of the screen. This page is where users can remove ads forever through a small payment of $2.99 Canadian, as well as an option to change your app's currency shown to be the one that matches your country's currency. Additionally, there are options to learn more of the app's technical aspects such as its terms of use and privacy policy, as well as the tutorial video, which is this video. As a note, this app does not save any user data, so rest assured the privacy policy is small. Lastly, there are quick options to rate this app or share it with your friends, as this would help me out immensely in getting this app more known, as well as provide invaluable feedback for me to enhance it. If you have troubles with the app or have any suggestions on how to improve it, you can contact me through the contact support option and send me an email. I will do what I can to improve your experience with the app, but I cannot help you with your RetroPay calculations specifically. Thanks for watching this demo of RetroPay Calculator. The app will be available on the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. If you find it useful, please consider leaving a review. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to reach out through the app's settings screen. Thanks again for watching.